What's up, everybody? We're here on Word of Mouth. We're so happy to be back. I'm Myers, and who are the other people here?
I'm Steven.
I'm Qadeem.
Oh my gosh. Well, who is that third person that just spoke?
Qadeem. I've never met Qadeem before.
Oh man, we're here with Qadeem, who is, what is your last name? Do you have a last name?
Hassan.
Hassan. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to try my absolute hardest to pronounce that all day long, but you're going to have to give me grace there. But Qadeem is the one and only, the man behind the curtain of Ralph's Listening Room, which is a listening bar that literally so many people are so thrilled is about to open up here in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm personally really excited about today's episode because I give way too many hours and monies to the whole vinyl world. It has been my favorite. It has been my hyper fixation over the past year of my life. So I'm excited to talk about that aspect. But there's also just a really cool thing if we get to talk to a new business owner in Birmingham. So I'm really excited about today, man. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I'm excited about being in Birmingham. Like I was telling you guys earlier, this week is a year of me being here. So it's been a great 365 days, I would say.
Let's go.
Come on. Well, talk us through. How'd you get here? How'd you get into music? How'd you get into bartending? Take us back as far as you want to go.
Wow, let's go back. This is crazy because it all intertwines together at some point. So early in my early 20s, when I was more so in college and whatnot, and using my money to go to music festivals and stuff like that, I would definitely say that the beginning part of my 20s was more so of the music side. And what happened there is that I became obsessed with live music. I always wanted to go to Bonnaroo. I think I went to Bonnaroo about 4 times.
Wow. It's quite a few.
Yeah. And that's, have either of you been before?
I have not.
I've
wanted to, but I've never gotten around to it.
I've gone to Sloss Fest and Hangout Fest. But I feel like Hangout Fest, because of, have you ever been to Hangout Fest?
Unfortunately.
Yes. Because of how small it is, not how small the amount, there's way too many people. The size of it is so small, like the literal
footprint.
The footprint.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I've had a Bonnaroo-esque experience just because it's so unbelievably oversaturatedly packed at those things. But I've never been to Bonnaroo, though. It's in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah, it's in Manchester, Tennessee, which is a small farm there. I think it's like 30 minutes from Nashville. Very hot. It's very humid there. You're basically on a farm for 5 nights. Gets very hot. And I quickly learned that I am not that big of a fan of camping.
Yeah.
By the first day you get there, you set up camp. You're like, yeah, this is about to be badass. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the Wednesday night. You go through Thursday. You're like, this is amazing. I'm on a new planet doing whatever I want to do. And then you get to about Saturday morning, and you're like, this is the worst decision I've ever made. This is terrible because it's like. You get woken up by the sun at like 7 a.m. and then they have this like thing in the background. It's like, good morning, Bonnaroo. And you're just like, oh, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. But, Saturday is one of the funner days there because like I would say Friday, and it's changed a lot since I've last been. I think it's been
since
since 2018 since I've been. But they start on Tuesday night now, which,
Wow.
Make it even longer, actually.
It's insane. So I still say it's the greatest place on earth. Like for that week, it's just incredible. But by Saturday is great because that's the day where like the lineups are action packed. You usually get to see the artists you really want to see. So you kind of forget how hard it is with the whole camping thing. For those 2 days, and you kind of make the excuse where like I came here for a certain artist, and I'm getting to celebrate that. So let's do it.
Yeah.
So, you get to Saturday morning, you're like, another great day. We're going to kick ass again. And then you're like, by the end of the day, you're like, just got to get through late night. Because, so the cool thing about Bonnaroo is once it starts on, I think Thursday night is when it goes basically 24/7. And there's always something playing.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah. So, there's really cool sunrise sets that you can go to and probably see your favorite DJ spin a couple, but I made it to a couple of those, but it's really tough. So, you get through Saturday, and then Sunday morning is when everybody wants to fight each other. Like, you're all in the group, and you're just like, I'm so ready to go. But we got one more day of music. Let's have a good time and whatnot. And, you make it through Sunday, and if the closing act is what really makes or breaks the festival. Like, it's either like you're there for that or you're just ready to go home. And there's been maybe 2 Bonnaroos we went to where we stayed. I think the for sure the one that we stayed, I think it was 2016. Are y'all familiar with Dead and Company?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Was that when John Mayer was with them, or was that before?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
He had an hour-long solo set there. It was unbelievable. I remember that was one of the Sundays that we stayed the whole time because it was a 3-hour set. So they started at I think they started at 6:30, and they ended at 10 o'clock.
That's crazy.
Wow,
it was unbelievable. And you got this. It was sunset phase, nighttime, and then late night, and it's just 3 different, phenomenal performances by them. So that was one of the Sundays we stayed the whole time, and then slept there that Sunday night, and then drove back on Monday. But really, other than that, everyone's packing up in the middle of the night on Sunday, and we're getting out of there.
Yeah.
There was one time we were so tired, we packed everything up, and everyone got in their cars, and we hit the road, and several of the people that drove in our camp ended up having to pull over and take a cat nap.
Yeah.
So we didn't crash.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I didn't know that. I assumed Manchester was 4 hours from Nashville, in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. That's hilarious that the whole time that you're doing that, acting like you're in freaking Kansas, you're 30 minutes from a major city.
Yeah.
I literally had no idea that people treat it like it's Woodstock. You're literally camping is a necessity. I always thought that until right now. That's hilarious. I also had no idea that we were going to be talking about Bonnaroo for the first little bit of the podcast. What is it about Bonnaroo that makes you start your musical story? What is it that you love so much about Bonnaroo?
I think it was the culture of people, and how just how Bonnaroo kind of, what's the word? How they kind of just promote this, positivity, and it shows the great side of music where, a lot of people don't understand that and the one thing I do love about Bonnaroo, because I've been to 22 festivals, and out of all the festivals,
oh my gosh,
Bonnaroo is the one where people are there for the music.
Yeah.
And skipping the routes real quick, that's what we want people to come for, is the music. There's tons of bars out there and tons of concepts, but I just love the aspect of people, thinking about their Friday night, and they're like, we can go listen to Currents by Tame Impala in its entirety tonight.
Yeah.
At this spot, and that's what a lot of people want to do.
Sure.
And going back to what you were saying about the everyone wanting to having their collection of vinyls and being obsessed with that form of music, and how you play it that way. I think people are really looking for that type of escape or space to have in Birmingham, and I think it's going to really, really be a great addition to downtown.
I think it's gonna be really cool. Before we dive in there, so you were saying that you fell in love with live music in your early 20s.
Yes.
And then I'm assuming you're going to say I fell in love with bartending in your later 20s.
There we
Okay.
go.
Take
So
us
There it
there.
is.
to get to all these festivals, like, of course, I had to make money to get there. So,
Yeah.
Serving tables was the quickest way to do it.
Where'd you work at?
I started out working at Baumhauer's.
Let's go.
I worked there for 8 months. I think Baumhauer's is a great company and a great concept, but I didn't care that much about Alabama football.
Fair.
Hard to fit in there if you don't do that.
I
Fair.
just, and on the low, I'm an Auburn fan, but
Auburn fan from Tuscaloosa.
Wow.
yeah,
That's
that's a whole
crazy.
nother thing. But I'm very casual. Like, I don't care that much. Like, wins and losses, I'm not losing sleep. Like, it doesn't matter to me. There are greater goals, in my opinion, that I was more focused on. So I ended up leaving there after 8 months, and I had a guy that my dad knew that was opening up his own restaurant. I ended up going to work for him there, so I opened that place up. It was called the Levy Bar and Grill.
Cool.
I served there for a year, and then I got promoted to bartender, and I didn't really know how I felt about it because I was like, do I want more responsibility in this job? So I began to realize that I like the aspects of like drink making and seeing that satisfaction from the guest when you make them something and they're like, this is fire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm liking the reactions. I'm liking the interactions and the relationships that I'm building with guests. So from there is when I just kind of really took off. And that's when I decided that I was like, if I can make a career out of this, this is the time, and I need to put, forth the effort to do so. So I really got into like the whole, I kind of hate this word, but like the mixology side of it, I guess,
Sure.
the science behind it. And the science behind making drinks was really fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I was terrible at chemistry in high school, but
Same.
yeah, it was rough. I think I had like a 61.
I literally made a 68.
Yeah.
It was the only time I ever made a D in high school.
It was rough.
You want to talk about? No, joking.
I actually think it's so funny how oftentimes in our childhood we have some sort of thing that we focus on in school that we suck at, like
Yeah.
chemistry or something. And it's just funny how the world works, that like you grow up and then actually you realize, oh, I actually, like if I can apply this in something that I like, I actually really enjoy chemistry. Like for me, I was so terrible at math. That was like my worst score on the ACT, not good at math. And now I'm like obsessed with business and finance. So like, it's just, you have to find like the thing that makes you actually willing to like learn the difficult subject.
Yeah, the passion and things you hate, it's crazy, but it was the quickest way for me to learn that like I can actually do things with chemistry, but it definitely was not I guess the academic side of things. So I started to really make, or I guess craft drinks there. I learned how to make like herb syrups, like rosemary syrup and mint syrup and thyme syrup, all those cool things. And at that time, this was like 2017. So at this time,
Well before the trends.
So like at this point, I'm like,
That's
okay.
really in Tuscaloosa. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's funny too, because my partner, her and I, we're still together. That's how we met. She moved back from Atlanta, and we both began bartending together. I trained her, and she was a lot better at it than I was at the time. So it was funny watching her kind of show me how to infuse the syrups with the herbs and things. And then like once I learn how to do it, we both kind of started collaborating on all these different things. So we kind of like made a name for ourselves in Tuscaloosa because like there weren't many people doing the like different types of syrups and things like that in town. So like we developed a really good relationship with our clientele, and we became really popular with the regulars. So we would have a nice little crowd on Friday and Saturday nights, and we got to experiment with them and let them try a lot of the drinks that we started to come up with. So then the following year I get promoted to bar manager.
Oh, cool.
And that's when I start to, really get to create my own menus.
Oh, yeah.
And once I start doing that is when I'm like, okay, I want to open up a cocktail bar one day, because the satisfaction I got out of being able to create my own menu and see, people respond to it in such a positive manner. This is it. And I love hospitality. I love customer service. I'm really good, with talking to people and whatnot. And for some reason they like me. So let's keep this going. So
what's the timeline here? So you promoted to bar manager, still at the Levy?
Still at the Levy.
Okay.
Still at the Levy.
Dude, I'm actually so curious if we can go on a little rabbit trail here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I was I worked in coffee for a long time, and whenever I worked at the cafe that I worked at in North Carolina, I was like over what we called SIG bevs, signature beverages. It was like our seasonal menu.
I like that.
And it was so like funny to me how like we were in the freaking lab. Like, I mean, this is a cafe had a big budget, so we could kind of mess around with whatever we wanted. We also had a kitchen, so we had like a room to like make a bunch of syrups, multiple pots, boiling, whatever, all the things. And we would do some like really cool, crazy, like eucalyptus thyme mint,
Oh yeah.
but the more and more that you put like words on it, when it comes to coffee, it was funny. We could make like, to us who drank coffee, us baristas, like we were drinking coffee all the time, every day. And I think this has to do with our clientele too, because like Raleigh is, I'm sure there's like a pocket of Raleigh where there's like a bunch of cool people who want to try out like experimental stuff, but like we're not in New York. Like it was like normal people we were serving.
Yeah.
And the more and more stuff you would do, it just like would like literally no one would get it if it was weird. And the majority of people in coffee would just come in and they're like, they want iced vanilla latte or mocha or, and they don't really sometimes like I found that the only thing anyone would ever get is like brown sugar, cinnamon, honey. Like that's literally the only thing people would ever get. And then anytime you ever try to do, I mean, quite literally anything else, I felt like it was so fun whenever you could find out like this was like a crazy drink, but we made like a espresso tonic with a little bit of blue Gatorade in it. And it was like the strangest thing in the world, but it tasted like really fun. It was a very summery drink. But it was like we had this like local LaCroix, and it was like this local blueberry LaCroix, a little bit of blueberry, like Gatorade espresso. It was like a really fun summer drink, and literally my boss was like, Steven, like there's absolutely no way that like we're not gonna order Gatorades. Like there's no way that anyone gets this. So that's like I feel like the most extreme example. But there would also be like rosemary. We had like one that was like we made all the time, like behind the bar. We would like literally make rosemary syrup on our own, but it was like I can't remember what it was. It was like rosemary orange. That's what it was. Rosemary orange zest together in a syrup, and it was like so good.
Great combo.
But no one ever bought it whenever we put it on the seasonal menu. So I was curious if there's any. Is that happening? Because I feel like when people go to a bar, that like they're usually more experimental in their drinks. But I don't know, because like being a bartender, where people just like they want their old fashioned and they move on, or they like really, so they don't try very funky stuff either.
And they always know how to make it better than you do. That's always the funny part. And going back to like where I was on that timeline early on, that's kind of how it was that a lot of people would come in and tell you how they wanted their drink made, and you would do your best to kind of like you spec it out the same way that they do at home, I guess. So early on, when we were in that whole situation of like making syrups and whatnot, I always thought that it was easier to kind of like, maybe throw one cool ingredient in there at a time, because like the orange,
That's all they can take.
yeah, the orange rosemary, they can't do that. They're like, oh, the combo is too much. So like we did like a rosemary whiskey sour. So bourbon, lemon, rosemary syrup. And they're like, okay, we can do this. So, and it also, the timeline matters a lot too, because I feel like now in 2025, people want to see the combinations. They want to see the like the crazy things. But I think that for that time, we did it right, and we did it slowly and started incorporating different things and like letting people kind of like, I always like to teach people when we're trying to experiment or come out with something new. I like to like do subtle things to where like you don't scare them or intimidate them. People hate being intimidated by cocktails.
Yeah.
I've ran into so many people, including myself, where you go somewhere, you're traveling somewhere, or you're in Birmingham, you're going to a bar, and a lot of people are like, yeah, the cocktails were too intimidating, I don't want to go back. So I think that's where the hospitality and customer service side of things come in, is that you have to communicate with your guests, and you have to know what it's making them feel that way, so you can adjust, because you want those people to come back, and you want to be able to teach them something without coming off pretentious, but you also want to continuously like elevate your drinks, because like you're going to have a lot of people that you're working with that want to continue to push that limit. And like that's another big thing, is like making sure that you're not letting creatives hit a wall to where they have all these great ideas, but you're stuck in this point where people aren't liking the creativeness, and you have to kind of like and I'm looking at this from like a leadership standpoint.
Sure.
This is like me talking to my staff, working with them and teaching them that like being creative is amazing, but you have to be creative in baby steps.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to keep those things in your back pocket, but pull them out one by one.
Yeah.
Instead of pulling out a Benjamin, pull out a dollar bill.
Yeah. Invite them at a speed they can handle.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's what we were kind of doing, and it worked really well. Unfortunately, we got to a point where, I felt like the bar program was not matching up to the food program. And with the food program, we were crushing it as a whole, as a restaurant. But for me personally, I wanted more.
Sure.
And this is when it gets really crazy, is I had two options. I was either going to move to Birmingham. This was 2018.
Okay.
Or I was going to go back to school. Crazy enough, the first, I would say, traditional true cocktail bar was opening up in Tuscaloosa. And I applied to work there, and I ended up getting a job there as a bartender full time. My partner went back to
Atlanta.
No, she went back to school.
Oh, okay.
To get her master's. Right before all of this life changing is happening, we actually take a trip to Scotland.
Oh, cool.
And it was the best It was literally like it couldn't have happened at a better time.
Yeah. Is that your first time over there?
Yes.
In like Europe and as a whole, or just Scotland?
Europe as a whole.
Cool.
And it was my second flight ever.
Wow.
First one was to
That's
Colorado.
brutal.
Second one was literally to where did we land first? I think we landed in London first.
Okay.
And then we flew over to Glasgow. But
That's so insane. That's a long flight for your second flight ever.
it was I was I didn't do too well. But I made it. I made it. The flight over there, I was like, how do people do this? Why is this a thing?
Why are people on here?
This is
You're like,
crazy.
I can play Sudoku, crosswords, watch 3 movies, and still have 5 hours left.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. And I was like, yep. I think it was like the last 2 hours, and I was just like, this is I don't want to be in the air overnight. I don't want to do this. But I got over it, and we made it there. But before we left, my interview for this bar was the day before we left. So I get on a flight not knowing if I like have a job or not. So we get to Europe, and we were going there to hike the West Highland Way.
Oh, cool.
So cool.
Have y'all ever heard of that?
I'm doing a little research right now on like Scotland, Ireland, because I'm thinking about going there next year with my wife.
10 out of 10 recommend doing the West Highland Way. So the West Highland Way is a 96-mile hike across Scotland. I can't remember all the towns that we stopped in, but we spent a couple nights in Edinburgh, which is one of the coolest cities I've ever been to.
That's good to know. That was funny enough. We just flew back from
cow.
Budapest, so I was on a flight
Awesome.
with a
Unbelievably
guy from
beautiful.
Scotland, and he told me I should go to Edinburgh. Wow,
Yes,
That's
I have a photo. I have a
crazy.
photo in that
Like, literally
exact
right
spot.
there? Yeah.
that's crazy.
Holy cow. Yeah, this is that running documentary. That guy who's oh shoot. I watched a running documentary the other day. I think we talked about it. But Running World came out with it, and there's this guy, he's like known as like one of the best runners of all time.
Okay,
But he was a shepherd in this like area of Scotland.
right. Yes,
And
I
he
remember you talking about that. Yeah,
But he literally just ran all day long every day because he had like sheep that would just run around.
That's
he was just chasing them.
amazing.
Yeah. But anyways,
that's so cool.
so you
Yeah.
go to Scotland and
Was this just meant to be like getaway you and you'll find thing, or like what's the vibe?
No, we went. It was her and I, her brother, and then one of her brother's really good friends.
Okay.
Her and her brother had actually did it 2 years before, but I got left at the crib. I had to house sit for our house and for her parents.
Yeah.
So I
Gotcha.
was in T-Town, and they got back, and I was like, yeah, I'm going next time.
Yeah.
No doubt. So we get over there, and we hang out in Edinburgh for a couple nights, and then we hit the trail. The following day, we take the train. I can't remember the name of the city. I want to say it was like Maldive or something like that. Really neat city. We stay in the hotel there. So from there, in that city, there's like a little like I guess like cobblestone road, and it's almost like Follow the Yellow Brick Road from like Wizard of Oz. It's really cool, and they have this statue, and it's like this is where the West Highland Way begins, and yeah, we started the journey there, and I still had no clue if I had the job or not, but we get to our first like Airbnb and whatnot, and the really cool thing about this like whole journey is that like you can stay in a hotel, a hostel, Airbnb, someone's house that's hosting you that will like cook you breakfast and dinner and whatnot. So we get to that first spot, and later that night, the boss man calls me up, and he's like, so I just wanted to let you know that I'm offering you a full-time position at Session Cocktails. And I was ecstatic, because I was like, this is like a new era, new beginning. Like I'm really going to be able to like take off in my career. So I find that out, and that makes the hike even better. So,
Yeah.
And crazy thing is, since it was my first time overseas, I totally forgot to like do the whole international phone thing, so I had no service over there. Didn't
wow.
save. I only saved. I saved. Bon Iver had just dropped an album.
Okay.
I saved that. There was another album I saved. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been Igor by Tyler, the Creator.
That's all you need, really.
Yeah,
Bon
I'm trying
Iver
to
and
remember.
Tyler.
I can't remember the name of the Bon Iver album.
What year is this?
22 Fable or is 2018? So it definitely would have been the super weird one. I
Yeah.
think it's called 22 Fable or something
22
like
a
that.
Million.
22 a Million.
It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
that one. It was the one after. It's like I me or something.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
It was another one of the weird experimental.
It was incredible. I
Yeah,
listened
yeah.
to it every day of the hike,
Yeah.
and
How cool.
the whole experience was just very sobering and resetting. And I was able to come back to Tuscaloosa with a brand new mindset, just motivated and ready
Yeah.
to go. So that career kicked off, and I grew really fast at Session. I went from full-time bartender, assistant manager, assistant GM. From assistant GM, I went to general manager. And from there, I went to director of operations because we ended up opening up a second location in Auburn, Alabama. Yeah, so we were growing at a rapid rate. We were crushing it. And in that career, or I guess that era of my life, is when I kind of switched from like the cocktail side of things to more so of hospitality and customer service, and really learning how to drive your business through the people that come and support it.
Yeah.
Very, very important to learn and to know your market and what your niche is for your business, what your, the target market, your goals, all of that stuff. So I was able to learn a lot of that there. And also managing people. That is the most important part of hospitality.
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because so many people come and go due to the fact that they're there for the money. They're not career driven to be in hospitality. Or, they're a seasonal worker because, I was in a college town. So, students were coming and going. I was managing, 50 employees, but I was losing, 15 to 20 of those every semester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you learn really quickly how to plug and play, but the important thing is at the top is the culture. You have to make sure that that culture is consistent, and the people that are there for your career people, we call them for lifers. You have to make sure that they're also under good leadership and they're being good leaders themselves. So when those people do come and go, it's a healthy turnover.
Yeah.
Well, getting to Birmingham too, it's a lot different because like damn near everybody here are for lifers. Like if you,
Yeah, literally.
if you're in the industry, like you're in it to win it. So
That's super
It's
true.
super unique about this city too.
Yeah,
I'm
Like, it's
telling
one of
you,
my favorite things, honestly.
This city is absurd when it comes to service industry stuff. Like it makes absolutely no sense.
it's
Like literally every other city that I go to in America, I'm like, well, I mean, not big cities, exclusive to major cities. Like every other medium-sized city, I'm like so bummed whenever I go eat at their quote unquote best restaurants, except for Charleston. Charleston was freaking good,
Charleston slaps.
Yeah.
but besides Charleston, like I mean, everywhere else I've been, I'm not gonna like hate on any cities or anything like that. But
Yeah.
Birmingham punches like way above its weight for sure.
I agree 100%. And I just, and we try to travel as much as possible. I haven't as much lately since moving here and trying to get Ralph's up and going. But
Yeah,
Birmingham's a special place. From the culture to the culinary scene to the beverage scene. I mean, we have somebody in the beverage scene that is going to Chicago in June for a James Beard Award.
Chewy.
Jose.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jose is he's one of my mentors. He's incredible.
dude.
I've learned a lot from him, and the time that I was coming from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham specifically, like he's been there since day one. Like, and we met when I was at Session. He actually, Adios did their first pop-up ever, was at Session Cocktails.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So, we've had a really good relationship ever since then. And also shout out to Chewy as well. Chewy's been there from day one as well. Yeah. I love the dynamic because like I'm able to talk to Jose about a dynamic of business and Chewy about a different dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect combo. Like they've helped me out a lot. So shout out to them.
Yeah, legends.
Big time.
Yeah,
like,
we want to have them on.
You got to.
They're on the list. Yeah.
You have to.
I need to ratchet.
Great stories from both of them.
We've talked about Salud like a lot. I feel like Salud's one of those places. You know, isn't El Royale? Isn't that a Mexican restaurant too?
Yeah.
They
haven't
just
opened yet.
up.
Yeah,
or they
and
are
I think
just
it opened
opening up
today.
Yeah, today. Yeah, you're right.
But I'm just like, if you open up a Mexican restaurant in Birmingham, like it better be freaking good.
Yeah.
Because that is like a saturated market. Everybody freaking loves Mexican food here, though.
Yeah.
And Salute opened up, and it like did the thing.
Yeah.
Like it is so.
My
good.
parents are not necessarily like huge restaurant people, and when I took them to Salute, they still talk about the food that we ate there. Yeah.
I think they're not restaurant people because they just moved to Birmingham. They'll get there.
I'll get them there. I'll convince them.
They were in Jackson, Mississippi before. Not a pretty difficult place to be a restaurant person in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Chewy will tell you it's all about consistency, and that's something that he knows, you know, better than anyone else. Is if you can be consistent, you're going to be successful, and he does that, and it's incredible to watch.
Yeah, he kills.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Sessions, you become the god of Sessions.
The Mac Daddy, if you will.
Yeah, so it was something like that. It was just, you know, I think I turned like 27, and I was in between, like I was like making a lot of money, want to be, you know, career driven at the same time, and you know that's when I was like, okay, I need to make a 5-year plan. So I kind of made that 5-year plan to where it's like I'm going to. It's almost like maxing out a credit card.
Yeah.
So I'm going to max out this experience. And once that experience has, you know, fulfilled what I needed to fulfill, it's time to create my dream. So that time came, and I think we ended up moving to Birmingham at like the perfect time.
Yeah. See, okay. So this was like 2020 was whenever you were making that 5-year plan.
2020 was.
I know this has got to be like absolute PTSD for a service industry worker reflecting on 2020, but that had to be pretty nuts in there.
2020 overall was just absolutely bonkers from a social justice standpoint.
Yeah.
I actually became a big time name in the community. Because of what was going on with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. I actually, and we'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure I had created, or I guess like organized, me and a friend organized a Black Lives Matter protest in Tuscaloosa. This was like maybe a month after the George Floyd incident.
Yeah.
The protest was June 7th, and a lot of people were like, you know, giving us shit because they wanted to do it as soon as possible. They wanted to have like, cause you know, everything was very hot then. Everybody was just like, was ready to, you know, get out and protest and march and do things like that for the obvious reasons. But for me, I wanted to, and it was only 7 days, but I wanted to stretch it out. I was like, let's give people a week to like, you know, gather their resources. Let's plan this out correctly. Let's do it right. Let's make the biggest impact that we can. And a lot of people didn't get it at the time because, like, you know, people were like, let's go protest today. Let's get out in the streets today. Well, I'm so glad I did that. We planned it out very well. We ended up having it on a Sunday, and we were able to get voter registration out there. We were able to. There was another tent out there that was like helping people that had felonies that wanted to get back on the right track once they got out.
That's cool.
We had a lot going on. You know, the police department was out there, helping us hand out waters. But
cool. That
was probably the most nervous I have ever been in my life, because like I was like, I'm leading this thing. Like the city's gonna be there. Like what? I don't know what to expect. There was a lot of tension in the air because of what was going on.
Everything happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So
wow.
I'll never forget walking out the door and having to go back to the bathroom like twice to vomit because I was so nervous. I had to speak in front of people. I didn't know how many people were going to end up being there.
Yeah.
And we get there. There's a lot of people. And I'm just like, this is insane. The mayor did not tell me or anyone that was helping organize this that he was going to be there. And there's like this government plaza park in the middle of downtown that we were meeting at. And he shows up, and like there's a stage there, and we had set everything up on the stage, and he shows up unannounced, and he walks up and he looks at me and he's like, there's more people here today than that voted in the last mayor's election.
Wow.
And my heart was just like, oh my God, here we go. So somehow my nerves just went away, and it was a great day. The athletic director for the University of Alabama showed up. Coach Nate Oates was there. A lot of the athletes were there. It was pretty. It was probably the most special day in my entire life for sure.
Wow.
My parents and my girlfriend's parents met for the first time ever there in March together.
Wow.
Cool.
Just an insane day. The police department, let us do our thing, because that was the whole thing, was like, people wanted to make it to where the police department was kind of like isolated out of it, but they were very cooperative as we were as well. So it was great. It was just a great day for the city. I've read reports where there was 3,000 people there, and I've read reports where there was like 1,500 people there. So anywhere in between there.
Yeah,
but
still awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So many people in one place.
It was insane. I'd still say it's, like I said, it's probably the most proud I've ever been in my life to organize something in that capacity. Which kind of helped me with my 5-year plan in kicking off my career, is because like my name was kind of out there for that. So like I was able to kind of create buzz off of what I was doing that I was passionate about, was, creating cocktails. I made a cocktail page, and it kind of blew up a little bit just from people sharing and supporting, and like me kind of doing like, I guess, like little tutorials on like how to make certain drinks and whatnot. So 2020 was kind of like the pillar of like me getting to the point where I needed to be for Rouse. Very pivotal moment in my career, I guess. But yes, in 2020 though, for the COVID, the pandemic, we shut down for like 3 months. And that's when I created that page, is like when we didn't have anything to do. So I was creating at the house, kept busy. I had a very routine schedule. I woke up at 8 a.m. every day. I went fishing.
Let's go.
Left fishing, went to the grocery store, picked up dinner and things to kind of experiment with making drinks. And would go to sleep early, like every day. It was very, very routine. So
you kind of had to do that during.
I was going to say, to keep you sane.
Yeah, you had nothing else going on. So it was a good time to reflect as well. So we made it through COVID, and when we came back, is when things really kicked off with. It was like this little short boom of the industry. It was like 2021 to like the end of 2022. Like people were spending money, so like that was that was a great time to save up and start looking forward to what you want to do.
One thing I'm curious about this time in your story is like growing up in Tuscaloosa, and then especially going into the hospitality industry and dreaming about being in the hospitality industry. What was your relationship with Birmingham? Like, how often did you come? Because it's so close. But I was
here a lot.
Like Tuscaloosa has its own like stuff going on too that I imagine you get sucked into. So I'm so like, was it in the back of your mind? Were you ever like, oh, I might open up in Tuscaloosa, or is it always like, I'm definitely going to move to Birmingham?
I definitely wanted to open up in a bigger market.
Okay.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the inconsistencies of being in a college town and summers being absolutely dead.
Oh, sure.
And having to like, save up for the summer and restaff for the fall. It was just a lot. So
sure.
I definitely wanted to venture off into a bigger market.
Yeah. Dang. So, okay. So talk to me like, well, I think for Birmingham's sake, like I think it's actually one of the coolest things in the world that we're getting a person like Qadeem.
Yeah.
Coming into the city, because I think it's a really cool thing that he came and kind of got to like incubate or do this like super hype. Because I don't know, I feel like Tuscaloosa is kind of known for bars.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff.
It's also funny, like in Birmingham, there's such a like Christian culture that's typically Christian culture is not pro alcohol and bar stuff. Like that's part of why Mississippi, where I grew up in Jackson, is kind of like a mess as far as most food things and late night things, because the Christian culture, just people don't go out and drink, and there aren't very many young people with colleges. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe part of it is like there have to be universities and colleges around, and there's like kind of one or two in Jackson, but not really. Yeah. Because there's like one spot, Fondren has like a couple good restaurants and stuff, but Birmingham, it's like kind of all over downtown. Yeah. There are bars, I don't know.
Quite literally, yeah.
It's hard to like figure out why that's a thing here, I guess.
Dude, if you're sitting in Ralph's and like this record gets put in and they're about to play, and you're like, yes, when you're on a date with Clay. What album is like peak? Like this is the best date night album of all time.
I feel like it'd have to be like a Penny and Sparrow or something.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, this new Bon Iver album is like so romantic to me. I'm literally learning.
I haven't listened to it.
Really?
No.
I'm literally starting. I haven't played guitar in like forever.
Yeah.
And I played for the first time in Budapest, and now I'm like learning some of the songs off of Bon Iver's album.
We're talking about like, I'm actually so curious what your answer would be. So like, say Ralph's isn't yours. You're just a guest, and you're on a little date with your Pookie. What's your partner's name? Or you don't have to say it if you don't want to.
Aaron Brooks. She's amazing. Brooks.
Say you and Aaron are sitting down at a little listening bar, and the DJ, the disc jockey, puts this album in the now listening, and you're like, oh, like this is the best date night album ever. What album is it?
That's tough.
This is an unfair question.
I have a couple. Even though I don't think it's a great date night album, but Blonde by Frank Ocean.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Especially if they had the real vinyl.
Yeah.
Not a bootleg. You have a real blonde Frank Ocean vinyl?
No way.
Real blonde
Of
vinyl.
course he does.
Wow.
Of course he does.
That's crazy, bro. That's like $1,000 vinyl.
It I'll never forget the day because he will randomly put some on his website.
Mm-hmm. I actually don't
And
know if it's 1,000 anymore. I just know it was at one point.
They're around. I think they range from like $300 to $1,000. So especially the Black album. I think my business partner has one.
Like the black vinyl? Was that like
yes.
the first pressing or something like that?
I think so.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
But what were we talking about? We were talking about the
Special date night.
Special date night.
Blonde by Frank Ocean.
That album dropped in such a impactful time that kind of led to the start of our relationship.
Oh, cool.
That I think that it would hit real hard. There's a couple. Golden Hour, Casey Musgraves.
Dude, actually, yes.
Wow.
Me and my wife listen to that album a lot on like drives. That would be a good one.
Oh man, I'm getting like I might tear up in a second thinking about some of these albums. Currents by Tame Impala, without a doubt.
One thing that I love about Tame Impala, what's that guy? Kevin Parker. One thing about Kevin Parker is he's like a purist when it comes to music. I feel like kind of like John Mayer, I guess, or like what's the guy's name? He's like a drummer, and he's like really really into vinyl. Frick, Zion would hate me right now. It's like Zion's favorite drummer. Anyways, there's like people that are in music that care about like the engineering of sound as well.
Yeah, the audiophile for sure.
And Kevin Parker is that way. So I feel like his records, he doesn't just like come out with good albums. He comes out with good albums that sound good on vinyl as well. And he presses them on good vinyl too. One thing that's probably my only qualm with Khruangbin. Khruangbin is my favorite artist of all time. And they press their vinyl, even though their music would sound amazing on vinyl, they press it on cheap vinyl. And it really frustrates me. Like it's like super thin. But like if you get like a like Fred Again presses it on like super thick. And that's why his albums are like or his vinyl's like $50 because it's like it's nice. But anyways, that's a tangent. But dude, all those would be absolutely.
What is your answer, Steven?
La Vie en Rose, Louis Armstrong, or the Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong. I forgot what it's called, but they did one album together. I think it's literally called Ella and Louis, or Ella Loves Louis, or something like that. I just think if you're on a date night and you're like at a listening bar, if somebody puts on like soft jazz, and it's a good sound system, like there's just something about a stand-up bass that like the I'm gonna try to explain this shortly, but like the highs and lows on a soundtrack don't, like on a Spotify track, just don't pick up very well.
Yeah, they're compressed.
Or on like an Apple Music, something like on a file.
Yeah,
but it's infinite sound on a vinyl. So there's something about the stand-up bass that's so like tenor to me that doesn't get picked up on anything except for vinyl or live, obviously. Yeah. But we have what's the name of the new jazz bar? Pogo. We have Pogo for that, but we're about to have Ralph's for the nice audio equipment. I'm actually we're almost there. All right, so let's go back to you. All right, so as you're kind of thinking about this 5-year plan comes up, you are dreaming about Birmingham. Talk to us about how you got to listening bar concept, and then also like what is a listening bar for those who have no idea, or a listening room, or however you want to explain this.
Yeah. So, real quick, I'm gonna tell a really cool story about like kind of how my business partner and I got to where we got. Yeah. Which also goes back to 2 of the albums I brought up. So him and I actually took the train from Tuscaloosa to New York.
Cool.
That's really cool.
We were going to see Frank Ocean on Friday night at Panorama Fest.
Wow.
Barely made it, but we got there with time to spare. We actually heard him open up going over the Brooklyn Bridge in our taxi.
Wow.
That's crazy.
But we made it there. Probably the greatest show I've ever been to. And then the following day on Saturday, Tame Impala headline. So that combination in him and I being able to bond over that experience, it's kind of crazy to see this come full circle to where we are now. But what did you ask me again? You asked me,
like, as you were kind of like going into dreaming about Birmingham, dreaming about future things, like how did you find listening bars, because they're like kind of a new thing in America, and then also how are you like, that's what we're gonna do, and then also in general, like, what is a listening bar? I think you're gonna kind of answer that with it, but
yeah. So it's funny. My partner actually, she was in Tampa, Florida. Maybe not this time last year. Maybe a few months ago. This time last year, I think maybe like March or something like that. But she texted me and was sending me videos of this bar she was in called In Between Days, and it was in St. Pete's actually. But it was a listening bar, and she was explaining to me, like, you know, how it was set up and whatnot and stuff like that. And I had really never heard of listening bars until she made the point to kind of send me the info on it. And she was like, I really think that this should be your concept, because my business partner, Spiegel, he makes music. He's an artist as well and a creative, very talented dude.
Cool.
She was like, you know, you and Spiegel, because we were gonna open up a concept regardless.
Yeah.
But it being a listening bar was just like, it was perfect.
Yeah.
And it was crazy that neither one of us had heard of that concept beforehand. But she sent me the info, and I started to look into them, and I was, you know, started YouTubing, and I'm like, this is fire. This is like my dream bar, because like when I managed these other bars and operated and stuff like that, my biggest thing was the curation of the music and the environment and the ambiance that it was setting.
Right.
So I was a very music first guy for the environment of the bar room. So from there, you know, him and I started doing research, did, you know, a little bit of traveling this past January, but before then I really tried to learn as much as I could about them. And they originated from Japan. They were basically set up as like listening, and they're all different too. You had your listening bars, and then there was I guess original name is I can't think of it. It's like Jazz Kissa, I think that's what they call it. Yeah. And like, I'm still, as we're doing this concept, I'm still learning a lot about this too.
Mm-hmm.
But they originated in Japan, like post-war, and it was like just, you know, cafes, listening bars that people could go to and listen to, you know, high fidelity jazz mostly, and really like go there to experience the quality of the music rather than going somewhere to, you know, talk over each other and party.
Yeah.
Which, you know, there's a time and place for that. I do that all the time. It's, you know, that's a part of our industry. But yeah, basically like a listening bar is a music focused environment, that really, capitalizes on having a high quality sound system, a unique sound system, a place where people that love music and really enjoy every bit of what they're listening to can go and really indulge in that and escape. The way I always tell people is like, I want people to walk into Rouse and feel like they're in their own living room with everything they need, and I'm making drinks for you.
Oh yeah. That's a good seller.
Yeah, like, because that's how I am. Like when I'm at the crib and like, you know, I'm in my space listening to the music I want to listen to and really getting to hear it and really getting to dissect what what that album or playlist or whatever is all about, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in Birmingham that are they're itching for something like that. And I think that the vinyl community in Tuscaloosa, or not Tuscaloosa, but in Birmingham, is extremely large on the low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Shout out
think-
Seasick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Seasick is probably one of the best record stores I've ever been to. And, like,
Literally ever, which is so strange.
it's
It's in Birmingham.
exactly, and it's going back to like the culinary scene and the beverage scene and the music scene. We're in Birmingham, Alabama, and it's just like all these little hidden gems that make this place so special. And you know, I put Seasick right up there at the top of what makes Birmingham the way it is and unique. And you know, it makes it feel like home for anybody that loves music. If you love the beverage scene, the culinary scene, it's such a great trio of things. And that's really what motivated us even more to be like, this is the perfect place to do it. Because like I talked many a times about really wanting to go into like a smaller neighborhood in Atlanta, to open up a bar. We talked about Asheville, North Carolina. But at the end of the day, Birmingham made the most sense, especially culturally, especially for me as well, being a black man. I think that this is one of the top cities to grow in at this time in 2025. I just think I think we'll look back at this, probably at this podcast specifically, and be like, wow, we were talking about what's actually about to like happen, or what's happening in like, you know, maybe 2030. By then, I think it's going to be even more special.
Yeah.
You can just feel it. You know,
I had like a weird vision the other day. Maybe this is gonna be super weird. Hey, but give me grace.
Prophesy, pastor.
But like when you're in a huge city and you're in the city center, you feel like you're surrounded by like just weight. I don't know how to explain it. And I was thinking like when we're like 80, these things like Salute being in the middle of like Salute is quite literally in the center of downtown.
Yeah.
Or you think about I'm trying to think of another, like Zaza. That feels so like it feels so like randomly placed because it's in the center of downtown. Anyways, this is my vision. It's like the more and more that Birmingham grows out of this like weird, stupid red line, like neighborhoods are off limits. Like the more and more that we grow out of that, because the city literally will just like two options. It's either going to grow out of that or it's just not going to freaking exist one day. Those are the only two options, I think. So I think the more and more that it does, it's just going to be crazy. Like I had this kind of vision of myself being 80, sitting at Salute or Zaza or fill in the blank of like a downtown thing, and just thinking about like West Birmingham is going to be like a cool neighborhood one day. North Birmingham, Norwood, like all of those neighborhoods like around like Titusville or like Fairfield, all of those neighborhoods are going to be like cool neighborhoods that are going to be like life is going to be breathed back into them one day. And then when you're sitting there, you won't just feel like you're on that. Like right now, it just feels like we're kind of on like downtown is like West Avondale in so many ways or something.
Yeah.
Where like the entertainment district or whatever, or like things coming back to downtown started over here in like Highland Park and Avondale, and then they're growing into downtown. I think then it will feel so like the weight will be put onto downtown, if that makes any sense at all. And because like literally when we're like 80, 85 years old, like what year will it be? It'll be 2090.
Yeah.
And it's like in 2090,
that's crazy.
are we still going to be like freaking civil rights movement? Like it'll be part of our heritage, but like I don't think people are going to be talking about, I hope we're not talking about how white flight has like completely changed the entire layout and landscape of our city. I hope that we're past that like completely when it comes to urban planning and like the way that it like obviously I'm not saying we should forget history or anything like that. I think it'll always be beautiful, like beautiful part of our like, you know, the fabric of our city. But I just think like downtown, like, is going to be so completely different. I also had, whenever I was at House 11 the other day, I was talking to, have you been to House 11 yet? It's the new coffee shop in
Love
Woodlawn.
House 11.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy who's on the Woodlawn United, like, city development team. And that also just got me, like, so freaking thrilled about, like, the future of Birmingham and stuff and everything being breathed life into. So that's really encouraging, though, that you are seeing that in Birmingham. That's like one of your motives to stay.
Oh, 100%. I think that, and going back to your point of like, where will we be in, 2090 or whatever?
2100.
It's crazy to think about. But I think that, Birmingham is very minority driven. And I think because of that, you're going to see a lot of that in the urban planning and being able to like, branch out into some of these, suburban neighborhoods and like, cause like, I wanted to get to the point where like there's a downtown in every little borough or pocket or whatever district you want to call it. And like, there's all types of people there thriving.
Yeah.
And I definitely can see Birmingham being one of those cities, specifically in the South. I think a lot of people discredit the South for its past, and I think that people forget because of the past, it's way more integrated than you think. Like it's way more integrated. Like I love Atlanta. I think Atlanta is what Atlanta is now. I think Birmingham could end up being at some point, but better. Yeah, because we get to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of crazy. I was looking at a graph the other day. The majority of the black population in America, like by far, is in Alabama and Georgia, which is crazy to think of, and Mississippi. But it used to be spread out a lot more. But like the black population is all like kind of recentered. But I feel like Atlanta and Birmingham are the same kind of way in that way, and I feel like I can kind of start to feel an undercurrent of like young black people in Birmingham believing that they can actually make it here.
Yep. Whereas
for a really long time, I felt like it was, if you stayed in Birmingham, it was a flush and you had to go to Atlanta in order to succeed. And I hated that. So I really do love that there's seemingly a lot more opportunity and a lot more excitement around Birmingham these days.
I agree. And that was definitely a selling point for me. And like I was saying earlier about like, living in Tuscaloosa, I was coming to Birmingham all the time. Mm-hmm. Like I learned and met so many people, specifically in the hospitality industry. So by the time I got here, I was, I knew enough people. Like, it was nice coming to a city where it felt like I was already at home.
Yeah.
And I had a little stint too when I got here. I actually managed the bar at the Essential.
Oh no way! I didn't know that.
So I did the bar program there for 8 months, and that also kind of helped me get my feet on the ground and kind of establish like being here, getting to know downtown better.
Yeah.
Which was a great experience, and I ended up actually leaving there in January because that's when things were really supposed to ramp up with doing the whole business owner thing. So
well, talk to us about that. Like, so you got to hang out a good bit in downtown.
Yeah.
How much did that influence? Also, like, do you know exactly where the spot's going to be now?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Talk to us about what was that process like? Kind of getting to see downtown Birmingham. Did that influence where you wanted it to be?
1,000%.
And then also one thing that we love talking about is just like we have like a segment on here called New York City Storefront.
Where would you live if you could live there?
No, like if you lived in New York, if you could open up a shop what would the storefront look like? What kind of building would it be? What would be inside? All that stuff. Because we love hearing how different people would like parse through and kind of work through in their minds, like their I guess like
the creative
chosen
process and like
aesthetic.
what they
Yeah.
love and think they would have to offer to the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for you, like, I mean, how'd you pick? I mean, I know it's called Ralph's. I would love to know why it's called Ralph's. You picked the color green.
Yeah.
Like I would, that kind of stuff. But then also like, what kind of like I love the idea of like the living room, and you're just like making drinks for me there. But yeah, talk to us about like where's it going to be at? What made you pick that location? Yada yada yada.
Yeah. So, Spiegel and I, we kind of when I started working at the Essential, I knew 100% that I wanted to be on First or Second Ave. The foot traffic, the energy in that area, no brainer. So we knew First or Second. We just kind of like drove around and looked at buildings to see if they were for lease.
Yeah.
And we found one, and that was the first one we looked at. We were like, this is perfect. We lost it to another applicant that applied for it. They ended up not being able to fulfill the lease. So we get a call back, and they're like, hey, the building's available again. And we're like, no doubt. Like, that was our first choice.
Yeah.
It was the best choice that we were probably going to get. And we stuck with it. And
Let's go.
it's on 2nd Avenue North, 2204.
Okay.
It is right across from El Barrio and House of Found Objects.
Yeah,
Oh, sick.
So it's right there in that little,
right in the mix.
right in the mix. The foot traffic is
Come
like
on.
I'll walk in there and I'll just like kind of, because we have these like these two like display windows in the front.
Yeah.
Like the storefront where, because it used to be a barber shop.
Oh,
So
cool.
they had like I guess like mannequins and stuff in the front. So I'll kind of like sit in those some days and just kind of watch the people go by, and I'm just like, it's a lot of people here. I love it. I love the foot traffic, but yeah, we got really lucky with that spot, and I think we're gonna make it look real cool on the outside as well too.
Cool.
But yeah, that's really how we found that spot, and we capitalized on it, and we really didn't know what we were going to do if we didn't get that spot, besides continue looking and probably have to settle for something that was probably less foot traffic, because I think too, like especially in Birmingham, like proximity is everything. It's like, what are you near? Who are your neighbors? Who can compliment you? Can you compliment them? Like, all of that is a part of, the decision making on where you're going to be if you have the choice. And we just so happen to have the choice. And I thought it was really crazy. It's like, wow, I hadn't even been here a year yet, and the luck is lucking right now. So hopefully it continues into to this year.
Thanks. So when people come to Ralph's, like on a typical, like, Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday night, whatever.
Yeah.
The whole spectrum. What should they expect? Like, is it drinks and music only? Food too? Like, what kind of music? What's what kind of, like, is it like a come with a group, come on a date? Like, what's the vibes gonna be?
There's gonna be different parts of the bar room that are gonna be for everyone. It's gonna, we're gonna have specific spots for groups. We're gonna have specific spots for solos. We're gonna have specific spots for dates. We're gonna have, and not to give too much away, but we're gonna have special nights for special occasions. Obviously, we're going to. The one thing I'm really excited about is like album release parties.
Yeah.
And like being able to, have people that are as excited as you to come in and be able to enjoy an album for the first time on vinyl, and listen to it all the way through. No distractions, like, And that's the one thing I hate about like listening to new albums on my phone is like, it's what, 11 p.m. Something's just dropped, and I'm automatically going to doom scroll as I'm listening to this because I want to know what other people are saying, or I need to check something. So I think the whole aspect of like being able to listen to an album with, and at this point it's your choice if you want to be on your phone or not, but just like being able to like really
like with real people,
real
reactions,
and have real conversations about that album, about the music.
Yeah. Dude, we were at a coffee shop called Sela in Budapest. They were just doing like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I think it was an Ed Sheeran album. They like had a group. They have a group discussion afterwards, whole album. And it's kind of insinuated that you're a little more quiet while the album's playing, and then you just have like group discussion of like what'd you think about it afterwards. And whereas I would probably, no hate to Ed Sheeran fans, I would probably never go to an Ed Sheeran album listening party. That idea is like so cool. Like we went to this place in New York called Silence Please. That
I've heard of that.
Yeah, and Silence Please was like, it was like,
okay. First of all, it had just opened, and we like happened to be told about it from a barista at La Cabra. So like kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I checked their Instagram today. They have like 300,000 followers.
Yeah.
So they like blew up.
Yeah.
But we went in knowing nothing about it.
Yeah. We were just like sitting in La Cabra, and our buddy Sully was like looking at the speakers because their speakers are beautiful. The speakers that Silence Please like builds and sells. And he's just like looking at them, and they have this guy that's like a runner. We talked about this on the podcast before, but they have this guy that was like a runner in the coffee shop. Like his only job was to kind of like help you find a seat, clean your tray, bring you something, and then also like whenever you were done with coffee, he'd be like, "Hey, there's people waiting. Like if you don't mind, like I would love to clear up a table, like kind of thing." This guy was just like running around doing a million things. Saw our buddy Sully just like staring at the speaker that's hanging off the ceiling, and he's like, "You like speaker?" And Sully was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, they have like a coffee shop down the street. You should go check it out. It's called Silence Please." We were like, "No way." And we walk in there, and there's like a secret La Cabra in the back of Silence Please, and then they also have these like listening, like they have these like deep work study sessions. So you pay $20 for a ticket, and then they play ambient all day on vinyl. Like there's a DJ playing ambient, and you're not supposed to talk, but you just work at their table all day long, and you get unlimited coffee and pastries for $20. So instead of like, it's just a different way of doing it. It's very New York. They're just doing the same thing everybody else does, but in these like new, cooler ways. Yeah. And it was just like this crazy experience. So, why was I saying that? What did it have to do with what we were talking about? Listening room. So we went one night because we bought this ticket to this. It was like so Cuban records are like really rare because they were like really popular, and then Soviet control, and then you're not allowed to have any trade. So then people like smuggle Cuban records, but some of the best like bossa nova or like whatever you call it, like Latino jazz from like the 50s, 60s were from there. So they had this guy that was like this granddaughter, this girl that was like the granddaughter of like one of the famous Cuban people. So she had like this huge collection of his records, and so she just like came and played them, and then just like would play a song from one of the albums, and then she would just explain like what was going on in Cuba during that time, so that like these people that were, I'm not into Cuban records, but like these people that are in New York, like the random people in New York, obviously New York has everyone, so New York had all these people that were like into like Cuban records. They got to like see this person, but it was like this coolest, like it was like almost like a museum tour or something like that. Like
learn the history.
Yeah, but it was like the coolest thing. So I feel like that kind of stuff is like that kind of stuff is awesome. And CSIC gets all the records, like that vinyls. They get them like 2 or 3 days early.
Exactly.
Which I didn't know. I thought that was hilarious. I didn't know that till I was in there the other day, and they had like a box full of it was like Claro. It was like her record that came out the next day. They had a bunch of like cassette tapes that they accidentally had left out. And I was like, dude, can I just like buy one of these already? And they were like, sorry, man, we're not allowed to. It's like, bro, it's
That's
literally right
crazy.
there.
Yeah.
But anyways, you could like literally talk to Seasick. I'm sure they
Yeah,
just like
that's-
give you a record to play, you
Yeah.
know, like right at drop time or whatever.
Yeah, that's
That'd be freaking cool.
That is definitely something that we plan on hoping to collaborate with them with is getting those records to be able to like have those listening parties.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because there's just such a huge community in Birmingham that want to do that.
Yeah.
I know if I just moved here from Tuscaloosa and I want to do that, there's been tons of people that have been indulging in this type of community, I guess, that that look forward to that first listen. So, but yeah, we'll have those nights. We'll what we want to try to do is, one, we're gonna play music for everyone, like Miles Davis, Taylor Swift,
and everything in between.
and everything in between. Yeah,
Kind
so
of the two ends of the spectrum.
because that's another cool thing about music is like you're going to be able to kind of market several different clienteles based on what you're playing that day.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we have like a nice calendar of like heads up, so letting
Yeah.
what we're playing and what at what time. From what I've noticed that especially the places that we've gotten to go to and check out, that's kind of what they do is they have content calendars of like what they're playing when and whatnot. We were able to check out Dante's Hi-Fi in Miami, which is like the granddaddy of them all from the States, at least. I don't know anything outside of America, but like here, like that's Dante's is like the place.
That's cool.
And it's funny, one of the owners, he is good friends with Currumbin. So
no way.
yeah, so a lot of that inspiration was like they were sitting. He was hanging out with Currumbin in a Jazz Kissa in Tokyo, I think, and they were all talking about it. And he was like, "I'm bringing this back to America," and they were like, "Yeah, you definitely should."
That's crazy.
So
That's insane.
yeah, so I think his name's Rich Medina, something like that. I can't remember specifically. I know his first name's Rich. I think it is Medina, but he spends a lot. He spends all over the country.
It's kind of crazy because literally the Krungman people, nobody, well, except for the drummer DJ, but nobody knows who they are because they were wigs when they play. So I'm curious of how it came up. But also, if they were sitting in Tokyo before he even brought it back to America, that had to be a while ago.
Yeah.
So maybe it was. But yeah, that's freaking crazy though. But yeah, honestly, Krungman was probably the reason that I got into vinyl in general. Was they I couldn't find anybody else that sounded like them. Now like Hermano Gutierrez and Alalas, and I mean there's like a few different people that kind of try and do it nowadays.
Yeah.
But at first it was like they were the only people doing it, and I was like, where do they like? Because people don't come up with original sound. It's all inspiration. It's all like built up on one another. Mm-hmm. I was like, where are they getting their inspiration from? But Krungban literally means airplane in Thai. And there's like Thai funk was this type of music that was like this, it's very similar to them. It was like this melodic, little bit up-tempo jazz, whatever, psychedelic kind of stuff. And that's where they got their inspiration from. So that was like my very small dive. And then what's her name? The girl that's their bassist. I forgot her name, but she's did her doctorate, or she was doing her master's or doctorate in Middle Eastern studies.
Oh wow.
So that's how she got into. She was into like a bunch of old, because before the revolution in Iran, like women were making like unbelievably good music, but then women aren't allowed to sing in Iran now because they're not allowed to be like the main singer. They're allowed to sing in like when a man is singing too. But that's like one of the crazy parts about the Iranian Revolution was like women voices kind of went to like they don't really exist in Iran anymore. And anyways, she was like, that's how she kind of. I'm assuming that's how she got into all of this like super old Middle Eastern, Southeastern Asia, Afrobeat kind of stuff. And that's what I've like, that was like my, my gateway drug. That was my marijuana, if you will, into that whole world. Was just like this fascination of like, oh, there's like a bunch of lost records that no one knows about.
Yeah.
That you can find, and the music is like good. And I don't know, that it started with just being like, an angsty teenager being like, I like indie, but then it kind of chased me into this like understanding of like, oh, music's actually way bigger than you could ever imagine. So anyways, I'm really excited about that you're having some inspiration from Dante's Hi-Fi. That's freaking cool, man.
Yeah. We checked out there. We went to Miami Sound Bar, which was really awesome. Then we flew over to Tampa. We went to Alter Ego.
Cool.
Which is one of the most beautiful bars I've ever been to. It's electric inside. It's like literally, it's so cool. You have to look it up. And then I got to check out 888, which is a sushi bar / cocktail bar in Nashville.
Me and Gracie went there like right when it opened.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, dude. They have separate amplifiers for each speaker, which is just the most overkill thing in the freaking world. But I thought it was absolutely insane.
Yeah, $300,000 sound system.
Yeah.
It's
like
crazy.
it was crazy. That guy, I walked up to the dude that was DJing, and he was like he was head of music. And it was like a Frank Sinatra night, and I was like asking him about the equipment and stuff, and he like didn't really know anything. It was kind of funny. I don't understand how Nashville works, to be honest with you. I'm also like a pretty big Nashville hater. But this guy was like, I was like, yeah, I don't know. He was like, yeah, I don't know. This guy, the guy, I forgot his name, but he got famous because he's the one who ran sound for the Beatles on all their like tours.
Okay.
And so he's just a big like engineering audio head. And he was like, yeah, 888 got pushed back because he was wrapping up Bruno Mars's home studio, and he had to like finish that before. So his project went from Bruno Mars home studio, 888 Nashville. Like that's the caliber of person that ran the sounds. Because it was almost like when I walked in, because I've been a lot of listening rooms around the country, and they're kind of like DIY. I mean, like the speakers are really expensive, and the turntables are really expensive, but everything else is kind of DIY. But when I went at 888, I was like, oh, this like isn't real. Like this is like, Disney World. Like it was like so professional. It kind of threw me off. So it made a lot more sense when I was like, oh, like this is like Nashville money backed.
Yeah.
Like that's how they got, because you don't get access to people like that. It has to be like some famous person probably owns that. Like,
yeah, and I think they're connected to the hotel that's right there.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, apparently that guy comes in anytime that they have to like do some type of like table arrangement or change the seating, electric.
Actually insane. I'm looking at pictures of Alter Ego in Tampa, and it's electric is an appropriate word.
It's so awesome.
That's crazy.
But yeah, apparently like anytime they like move chairs around, do anything different to like the landscape of the restaurant and the bar room, he has to come back in and like recalibrate the sound to like fit
the space.
Fit the space. So
I sat down at my table. They brought me a hot towel to wash my hands and my face with. Did they do that for you when you came? Or when
they did not. It might have been too busy when I was there.
I mean, I literally went like, I think 1 week after they opened, completely on accident, just like Silence Please. But we got a reservation day of, and I like looked at Gracie. I was like, the only reason we got a reservation is because people don't know about this place yet. Like this place is going to be like you don't get reservations here type place. It was I got like a Wagyu like steak sandwich. It was so good.
Cocktails were great. The sushi was incredible.
Food. Are you having any food element at Ralph's? Or?
No food element.
Okay, cool.
Food is expensive.
It's true.
Shout out to everyone that does food.
Get El Barrio to go.
Yeah.
Across the street.
I go support those people because I just, and that's a big reason why like I kind of shifted more towards beverage and more away from the culinary side, because it's tough. Like you're built different when you can master culinary and be able to successfully like execute it and be consistent. And it's so much more money too into the build out.
Yeah.
And it's not for me, but I'd love for the food truck scene to become something cool downtown. Like, at least when restaurants close.
Yeah.
I think that would be huge if we had like a food truck parking lot or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, because it's definitely needed.
When is Ralph's opening?
We're shooting for October right now. The one thing I did learn about this through this whole process, as it being my first, I guess, business venture, is don't get started during the holidays. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would definitely sign a lease this month and then work my way into it that way, because we signed like right as the holidays were getting started, and like, it's nothing you can really do about that, but we have a fantastic design and construction team, architectural team. They've been crushing it, but there's only so much you can do when the holidays roll around. Like you go to Thanksgiving, rolls into Christmas time, and that's when people are taking 1 to 2 week, I guess, off of vacation time. Then you roll into spring break and stuff like that. So that's definitely a learning curve there. Is if we could go back and do it again, we'd probably, I think summertime is the best time to start really cranking it out and doing things. But construction and whatnot it's happening during the summer. So either way, we got to that point. Yeah. So fall's looking like the time. My birthday's in October, so for like a
big birthday bash.
Our best friends opened up Whammy, the new coffee shop, and Mitch did his grand opening on his birthday, and it was so much fun.
Yeah. So that's what I'm aiming for. That would be that would just be a dream come true. So we'll definitely aim for that.
Cool, man. Well, so last but not least, as we kind of like wrap up, so kind of 2-part question. One, to any Birmingham people that are sitting here, another bar in Birmingham, or they're like, I'll maybe try it out. We'll see. What's your pitch to them?
Ooh, the pitch. Our tagline is "Listen with taste," and I think that if I had to have a pitch line, it would just be, come for the music, stay for the drinks.
I love that.
Get ready to vibe out, and not only kind of be able to educate yourself on new music, new genres, but you're also going to be able to experience a cocktail that was created through inspiration of music. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to share what we've been working on with the city. I think it's going to be
freaking
fun
awesome.
Times.
All right, last question, and then we'll wrap for the day. If this goes well, if this pops off like we all think it's going to, what's next? What's the dream?
If it pops off, I have a couple other concepts that I want to tackle. But also if Rouse pops off as well, I really want to. My whole goal behind that part of it is I want to maximize the music community here as much as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to put Birmingham on the spot for not only the culinary and beverage scene, but also the music scene. I think because I look at like Dante's having celebrities come in and spin records.
Yeah.
Chance the Rapper, DJ Jazzy Jeff, all those cool people come in and do their thing. I would love to see that happen at Ralph's as well. So, you know, capitalizing on the music scene in Birmingham and doing what we can to provide for it and help it grow. And then maybe some other concepts.
Come on, man. Hey, well, dude, you have two people that are going to absolutely rip some word of mouth advertising for you. And we thank you for being on here, man. We love celebrating what all of these like awesome people are doing in Birmingham, and we really, really are happy that we get to celebrate what you are doing in Birmingham. And this is going to be genuinely awesome, and I will be there a lot.
I can't wait to have you.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Thanks for being on, and I hope that, you know, for all of our listeners, you're just as excited, even a little bit as excited as I am. Awesome, dude. Well,
Thank you, Qadeem.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a blast. I loved every minute of this. So
awesome. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cool. All right, Wommer. See you later. Dude, that's gonna be freaking sick. I have to pee.
that was great.